On the YouTube. So as soon as that starts, we'll get started. Thank you.
Okay.
Somebody's listening. Yay. Okay. All right, folks. So welcome to Outspoken, the February edition. The Publishing Triangle's monthly reading series, which the Bureau has been hosting for over a year now. So my name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder, along with my lovely partner, Donnie Jokum, who's ringing up a sale right now because things just keep happening. We are the co-founders of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, which is an independent, all-volunteer queer bookstore that has been in existence since 2012 and here at the LGBT Community Center since 2014. Our regular business hours are Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m. and then we often stay open later when we have events such as this. So, as an all-volunteer independent bookstore, we rely on sales and donations to keep this project afloat. So I'm going to pass a bag around, and there's some change in here if you need it. There's also a Venmo QR if you'd like to give that way, but we especially encourage folks to donate if you know you won't be buying books. You're welcome to donate and buy books, but if you could do one or the other, we'd appreciate it. Look at Rob, came with fresh, crisp bills.
Yes.
Thank you. If you're not already on our email list and you would like to be, you can sign up for that at the back of the room by the register, or for those of you watching online, you can sign up for that on our website, which is bgsqd.com. I should also mention, if you're watching online and you would like to donate, you can go to Venmo and find us at bgsqd. So before we get started and Rob comes up to host this lovely event, I'm going to read a land acknowledgement. So the Bureau acknowledges that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We encourage you to join the Bureau in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community Houses Mannahatta Fund. The Mannahatta Fund, according to its website, is an invitation to all settlers and non-native people who wish to acknowledge the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at mannahattafund.org. And with that, I cede the mic to Rob Burns of the Publishing Triangle. Please give him a warm welcome.
Oh man, I've been seated too. Now I know how Canada and Greenland feel. We're gonna crack myself up sometimes. In tragedy, you have to find humor. I'm going to try to minimize my time at the mic tonight, but I do want to first start by saying the Publishing Triangle is an all-volunteer organization. Our board of, 8 people we are volunteers and we are staff. And so I encourage everyone to become a member. It's only $40 a year. And if you want to roll up your sleeves and help us, we'll take it. We have a lot of events coming up over the next couple of months, so please do lend a hand if you can. And if not, $40 to be a member. I mean, come on, that's less than $1 a week. That's my Sally Struthers thing. Sorry. Okay, moving right. Did I mention I introduced Carolyn Gerard, right? Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. No,
I did not. Oh, I'm sorry. I started in my head. Oh my God, something very wrong with me. In my head, I introduced them. I would like to introduce two of my fellow board members from the Publishing Triangle are here tonight. Carol Rosenfeld, our chair. And Gerard Cabrera, who's been doing a dynamic job of yes, please, yes. Especially dynamic job of bringing a lot of what we do to the Spanish-speaking readers of queer literature. And by the way, roll back too, because he's not here tonight, but Emmanuel Xavier, another board member, hosted just a dynamic event a few weeks ago for Nikki, in memory of the late Nikki Giovanni, and David Groff, another board member, a long time, in fact, a founding board member. I'm going to stop because then I'm going to get into the people who haven't paid their dues yet. So, let's get to our readers tonight. I don't even have a lot to say about our first reader because he's just got stuff coming out like every month. Daniel Meltz, this has been a big year for Daniel Meltz. His first book of poems, It Wasn't Easy to Reach You, was recently published by Trellis Table with a blurb by David Sedaris. I know. Can I just, it's not about me, okay? Can I just mention that, and it's been a long time, but I had 6 novels out, I never had a blurb. So, and so, I know, I feel bad for me too. And Daniel's first novel, Rabbis of the Garden State, I live there. Rabbis of the Garden State is coming out from Rattling Good Yarns and will be published in April. And I'm going to be sitting down with Daniel in April here for a little Q&A to launch his book. But I'm really excited. Daniel Meltz is a guy I really look forward to hearing read. He brings me joy. Please welcome Daniel Meltz.
Thank you very much, Rob. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to have my books. This is the book I'm going to be reading from today. This is the upcoming, this is an early version of Rabbis of the Garden State that I got. I'm really happy with the cover. You know, I was worried that I'd get a dinky, shitty cover, but I like it. So I'm going to be reading from It Wasn't Easy to Reach You, which just came out on Valentine's Day. So, thank you. So this first poem, I've read it a lot of times, but it's a good icebreaker. It's called Narcoleptic Karaoke. I used to make lists of the names of my friends. John, Larry, Ernest, Jeffrey, Mitch, Gene, Steve, Lee. Then every couple of days I'd rewrite the list on a scrap of paper or on a blank page in my diary. Over time, the list would change. John, Sally, Jeffrey, Bob, Steve, Mitch, Amy, Bill. Sometimes the list was lined up with my groceries. Paul, coffee. John, yogurt. David, shredded wheat. Jeffrey, tomato juice. Or lined up with my groceries and the movies I'd seen. Tom, wheat germ, A Room with a View. Amy, chickpeas, tuna, blue velvet. I used to write down everything we talked about in therapy. You're full of murderous rage. I can't hear you, but then I burst into tears. She's right, she's right. As much verbatim as I could remember. A one-act play 3 times a week. I wrote down everything I saw and who I went with. I recorded record highs and lows and the names of the trees and the cocks I'd sucked. I recorded orgasms, sick days, days I'd smoked pot, the length of the movie, the number of hours since I'd last seen Howie, since I'd first met Linwood, since recorded rain had fallen, inches of snow, Days above 90, the 10 most populous. The driest, the loneliest, the lone list, the one list, the on list, the off list. Eventually, I threw them out. Eventually, you wake up startled. What are you keeping lists for? What's with all the legerdemain? It wasn't a question of what to remember, the diving birds told me, but who to forget. I never had a book in my hands I could read from, you know? Okay, next, this one is called Mercator's Projection. If you dump me, I'll drink till I pass out and go to the theater the next day hungover and pissed. I'll get drunk again that night and belt out 8 days a week at a karaoke bar and bum a cigarette afterward and smoke it on the street. I'll keep thinking I see you at the bar and on the 6th. The next morning, I'll stare at my hard-on in bed and go to the theater again, hungover and pissed, and then eat eggplant parm and cookies for dinner, alone in my apartment, thinking the sweet glop will help me forget. But Monday, I'll remember that you hadn't dumped me as much as I projected every longing onto you, and you disliked it. I don't really think of that one as funny. That's kind of heartbreaking. Okay, uneasy listening. Uneasy listening. I never wanted to listen because they never stopped talking, which was a way to guarantee that I'd never be seen as existing. And what is it with that endless yammering anyway? So many people do it. The words spool out in ribbons of anxiety. They sploosh all over the editing console and shoot at you like fire hose water. If you try to understand, you come up with excuses like their parents always tuned them out, or they're insecure about the mark they make, but still you're caught in the line of fire and the words get all over your shirt and pants. This one is called Sultry Silk Tree. Sultry Silk Tree. We don't have silk trees in New York, but I just like the sound of it. Sultry Silk Tree. We've been stupefied with sweat while big, wilting, corrugated heat boxes tumble out of the sunrise, and lunchtime's even worse. So no one's really moving except to rinse out the air conditioner filter or cut up a cantaloupe. Forget about the daily goal of 10,000 steps. Today it's barely 100. No one's on the street. It's just as hot in the Catskills, and the cat is splayed out on the floor like a murdered acrobat. Can't account for those meowless hours, so might as well wash them down with whatever beer has the highest alcohol content. Though some of the evenings thereof are beautiful unexpectedly, glamorous gusts of potato breath out of the night, as the sidewalks murmur and forks and steak knives jingle on outdoor plates, and rounds of laughter tumble up Columbus, and the calm of the 103rd day in a row without a jacket makes a person glad about everything, even those things the person isn't too sure about, such as indoor plans and the specter of a violent death and the story of your advancing flirtation with the FedEx guy. True story. Okay, this one is called A Letter from an Unknown Poet. I fell in love with a guy who didn't even know who I was. Every night, a gaudy misery with the windows open on Crickets and Creek. 48 hours without any sleep. That's how it goes when you're hypnotized in high school. A mad fascination. But who controls the memory? What kind of love is that anyway? Isn't unrequited love love in fact? Because when love is in fact requited, it heralds a similar moral assurance and the optimistic crackle of cellophane ice on curbside water. Now that we're more sensible and don't scrutinize every love swab under a mutuality microscope, or treat every day like an LSD love trip, where each moment is imbued with the same degree of urgency, from the misfired kiss to the unsponged countertop to the long-delayed but clarifying IOU conversation. We still find ways to suffer. You with your dreams of the Manson murders, and me with my canned corn eaten over the sink. You crouch in the arena with the lion, I panic in an elevator, stopped between floors, which doesn't mean we should just stop talking. Let me start over. I'm sorry for acting distant. I am trying to maintain a separate identity, this week anyway, as I grapple with the meaning of my last poem entitled, "This is Why My Life Has No Meaning, You Fuck," which will probably never be published, but which comes from the same emotional storehouse of a high school hypnotism. All right, so I'm gonna read two more. This one is called Broken Monitor. Hi, Drew, I didn't see you before. Broken Monitor. I have always had this eagerness to go, to leave the party or escape the restaurant or slip away from the ceremony celebrating the ancestral limestone monoliths in the fire circle. When is this sacrament over already? Please stop your jabbering, Jesus. You mean this movie's 2 hours and 47 minutes? Get me out of here. Even with you, that Saturday of deeper cahoots expressed in kisses the saints must kiss, and orgasms, one with words, one without, as thrilling as the transubstantiation of a jalopy into a Cadillac. I left as soon as I could, because you had seen so much of what I sought to hide desperately. So I desperately fled toward the relief of a flatter interior, as cheerless as an Olympic butterfly swimmer who's disappointed that he won. I have always had this eagerness to go and come back and go forever and never come back. But it was different after the batteries died in both your clocks. And my therapist told me that the doldrums cover the smirks and the smirks conceal the hurt. So we mixed the colors smirkless and knew each other better, adjusting our paces and relaxing our resistance, and remembering that the lame cliches of call me by your name were a reflection of nothing. Yet you made the difference, my rough-cut romantic who can't say anything about love, but can do everything about love. And I could lie around forever. It makes me cry because it's so him. Okay, and I could lie around forever on the sectional sofa of your abiding openness and defiant mispronouncings. But who are you anyway? Until now, I didn't know, convenient vision shimmering until the removal was removed. No, they said, Uta Hagen said, that you should let the audience cry. You shouldn't cry yourself. All right, so this is the last one. It's called Ecstasy in Hackensack. Those guys are on the wrong train, which happens here a lot. You begin to think it's a problem with the station announcements. And then those two, wrong way, fellas. You took the Pascack train, the conductor says, and there's a long stretch between here and Woodbridge where they can begin to correct their course, thinking about what else they could have done. When I pulled out this notebook to write about you, because I am so full of the feeling of you, that it is spilling over into these words about you. I was wondering how to approach you here, and then I saw them all in the wrong direction, full of worry and frustration, but eager to get back to where they started to fuck it up, so I started there.
Daniel Mills. Hey, I got a free copy of Rabbi. Amazing, and I'm like, I'm just glad to be in a room of people that recognize the name Uta Hagen. Let's keep the queer superstar thing going. Tom Cardamone is the editor of Crashing Cathedrals, Edmund White by the Book, and the author of the Lambda Literary winning speculative novel Green Thumb, as well as the erotic fantasy The Lurid Sea and other works of fiction, including 2 short story collections. Additionally, he's edited The Lost Library, Gay Fiction Rediscovered, great, and co-edited Fever Spores, The Queer Reclamation of William S. Burroughs. Currently, he's co-curating Rebel Satori Press, which is probably a third of the books here, right? They were in print, the Library of Homosexual Congress, dedicated to returning works of gay literature back into print with a focus on the AIDS crisis, which, let's not forget, right? And I understand he has something new to read for us tonight. Please welcome Tom Cardamone.
Thank you guys. I'm gonna be workshopping a new short story. This is about someone who is seeking vampirism in 90s Lower East Side, New York City. It does contain what I think is the single most disgusting sentence I've ever written. And we'll see if you agree when I hit that point, all right? Around the corner from the boiler room, the Palavere was considered the last stop for the drugged and horny. Ancient cocksuckers, as well as those shambling men who likely didn't have a home to go to, but drank their public assistance checks, sold plasma, and casually shoplifted while waiting for either the dive bars or soup kitchens to open. Those sad souls slept in the old movie theater seats that lined the walls of the Palavere. The only light there emanated from the flickering blue Budweiser sign behind the ghostly bar, always untended. They'd long ago lost their liquor license as well as any pretense that they were an establishment serving anything other than base sexual satiation, as well as an unhygienic station for heroin addicts to shoot up, nod off, and luxuriate in their cerulean dreams. I would have a few drinks at the boiler room before sauntering over. Cash only, no coat check, a warren of doorless rooms and a layout that was purposely difficult to memorize. The haze from cigarette smoke sculpted a gray curvature to the main chamber, painting a doomy cathedral of degenerate lust. I didn't want to show up too drunk or too horny and not reconnoiter, but hook up with one of the straggly hustlers with damp pubes that frequented the joint. But also not too sober that being there made me question my commitment to this lifelong quest. I had been frequenting the Palavere for months by then and knew that I had found a veritable feeding ground. The cigarette-strewn floors were actually earthen and would soak up any spilt blood. Several of the furthest walls were mere plywood, easily concealing hidden tunnels. After all, multiple subway lines were blocks in either direction. The proof, however, came one chilly dawn. I had stumbled out having spent my rent money on a gamey hustler in black jeans. Shirtless in January, he needed the cash more than I did. I lit my last cigarette as a quiet ambulance slid down the street and stopped before the nondescript doorway. 2 skeletal medics with matching mullets and bad posture crept out and retrieved a stretcher. The door swung open. All of the more established nightclubs were known to discreetly hire private ambulances to ferry away the recently overdosed, to better hide the rampant drug use from the cops, nervous landlords, and the ravenous press. But these guys were in no hurry. I intuited that no one had called them. This was a regular stop, like sanitation workers. They were here to pick up the trash. I finished my cigarette and flicked the button to the street. The medics emerged, sheeted body between them. As the silent ambulance pulled away, that shirtless hustler, hand shoved deep in his pockets, shot me his most winning and desperate smile from across the street. I ignored him. I had finally tapped the right vein, struck a vital artery, one where the already forgotten regularly converged to be consumed and discarded. It wasn't that long after I spied the ambulance that I was able to corner a vampire at the Palavar. I knew I would have the upper hand if I could catch one right after it had fed. I just knew that that night was going to be the night. I tabbed it from the Roxy and arrived late. Men were fucking or sucking in every corner. Though still winter, the subterranean heat was carnal. I could smell amyl nitrate, sweat, fecund lust, bad breath, and something dank and dangerous underneath it all. My vampire. I wound my way through the labyrinth toward the farthest corner, less populated, to find him feasting on an unconscious junkie. The vampire looked like a businessman, the office worker who lived upstate and took off his wedding ring as he entered a Times Square hustler bar. Closer inspection, the suit jacket was threadbare, covering a shirt deeply stained, and his shoes didn't match. Sated and drugged, having drained a likely heroin addict, he stared at me unblinking as I stepped into the doorless hovel. The addict had wilted in his arms. Teeny rivulets of blood leaked from his emaciated neck. The vampire's long fingers curled and uncurled as I approached. His stench was overpowering. Keeping the cooling corpse between us, I stroked my neck with one hand to clarify that I was offering myself to him. With the other hand, I grabbed his crotch. The Russians in the chat group claimed that male vampires became engorged as they fed, and that this is from where you can draw the gift of immortality. For female vampires, veiny breasts filled with black blood. Stoned, giddy over his luck at having drained one helpless victim only to have another willing source of sustenance appear, he dove toward my neck as I bent to his crotch. The stench defied description. I retched, fumbling at the zipper, fearful I would lose consciousness and then my life. But his large penis flopped out. As it engorged, the foreskin revealed likely decades of oily, granulated grime. I forced myself... Wait, my friend. I forced myself to again not vomit as his fangs scratched at the back of my neck. His cock in my mouth, the cooling corpse of the now dead junkie between us. The vampire was unable to gain sufficient traction as I sucked on his surprisingly strong erection. The heroin-enriched blood must have fully saturated his system by then as his body went slack. His cock tasted like what I imagine the lining of a coffin would taste like if you were to teethe on the pink satin that had fully absorbed the liquefied remains of whichever body had decomposed within its buried confines. That was it, if you were wondering. He came. He shot globular death into my mouth and down my constricting throat. I died and was immediately reborn, choking on the black cement of his congealing lifeless semen, sealing my fate. I actually felt my heart stop. All these years, I could hear it but didn't realize it, like someone rhythmically knocking on an unseen door for so long, for 3 decades to be exact, that it wasn't until the invisible person had left the unseen room that the absence, that the pulsing noise became startlingly omnipresent. The now missing but quite persistent force that would have been my departed soul. I gasped and heaved, and the vampire giggled and tucked his deflating dick back into his soiled pants. He didn't look at me as he kicked at the corpse on the ground, trying to discern if there was another drop of blood in there to still be had. I didn't care about him. I didn't care about myself. My only thought was to the chorus of beating hearts I could now hear singing throughout the extended maze. The thirst was overwhelming. Thank you.
Tom Cardamone, and I actually remember Brian from the works on Columbus when it had the back room, so I'm glad you. Who else is old enough in New York enough to remember? Okay, yeah, all right, we got a few people here, remember.
Very uptown.
Yeah, well, I lived on the Upper West Side at the time, and it was like the easiest place to, never mind. So, one of my longest friends in the biz is on the Zoom machine live from Denver. Jerry, I know, right? Exotic. I only get there once a year, and it's only at the airport. Jerry, like everyone else, I go for the weird Masonic, rights and stuff. But Jerry L. Wheeler is an editor of gay fiction and erotica, whose own fiction and essays have been awarded a spot on the shortlist for the Lambda Literary Award. Which, by the way, I make jokes, and I will in a moment, but we love the Lambda Literary Award. So we hope that, and we're glad that they're back in the judging thing and that's up and running again. Jerry's most recent novel is Mercedes General. There's copies back there, by the way. And as I mentioned before, he lives in Denver, where he maintains his review blog, and I hope you're all subscribed to this, out in print. And he has his own editing business, and of course, he keeps writing. Please welcome my friend, and you're going to be at St. Sinners?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
My friend, and we're both going to be in just 4 weeks, we're going to be hanging together in New Orleans, bad news. Jerry Wheeler.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity, everybody. I'm going to be reading something new tonight. It's not quite got the same sort of feel as Tom's did. But it's interesting nonetheless. It's called The 4 O'Clock Three-Handed Double-Deck Cutthroat Pinochle Game. I'm lucky enough to have had love in my life, but it didn't take me long to lose it. All we had was 2 years before he got sick. 25 years later, I sometimes wonder if we'd still be together. Would we have survived my cheating, his cheating, our families? Would we have stayed friends or hated each other by the end? And what would have happened to this place? Cal, my barback, picked at the Band-Aid on the knuckle he'd skinned in the cooler. Melvin adjusted the strap on his daisy print sundress with one meaty hand while he studied the cards in his other. You gonna bid or what? Cal said. Melvin's Empire State Building earrings glimmered in the bar lights. I'll open for 15. I had nothing. Pass, I said. I glanced down the bar. At the far end, Johnny Paul was only half finished with his beer, and the rent boy, Skip, Flip, Trip, I've heard him use all three, was between us, nursing his Cosmo with an off-putting scowl. That's no way for a pretty boy to earn his drinks, I thought. I usually don't let him work in here, but it's raining, and he looks pretty miserable. Julian will chase him off when he gets here to open the back bar. 20, Cal said. Melvin raised one shaggy eyebrow. Jump bid, huh? Probably hurts. You got a bid to find out, gorgeous. 21, Melvin said. 25. 26. 30, Cal said. 30 was Melvin's usual breaking point. He sat back a little and rearranged his cards, fanning them out again slowly. 35, he said, looking up as his buildings swayed. I like those earrings, but they needed little King Kongs peeking in the windows. "36, Cal said, defiant, yet about to cave. His towel was running his hand through his short gray hair, which he did. Melvin folded up his hand and laid the cards face down on the bar, retrieving his cigar from the absolute ashtray. He puffed a couple of times to get it going. 40. Fine, Cal said. What's trump? Spades, Melvin said, putting down his meld before he even took the cards out of the kitty. 2 jacks of diamonds, 2 queens of spades, double pinochle. 30 points right there. And when he picked up the kitty, he grinned even wider and melded aces for another 10 points. He discarded 3 cards back to the kitty and glanced down at the score sheet. I'm at 480, he said, leading a trump ace. So this should put me up, boys. Once the hand was played, Melvin got 57 points to make his bid of 40 and went out, winning a 5 spot off Cal, who tore the Band-Aid off his knuckle, reaching into the pocket of his jeans. God damn it, he said with a wince and a hiss as he tossed the folded up fiver at Melvin and stalked off to the cooler. Don't go away mad, Melvin called after him. He snatched up the 5 and smoothed the lap of his dress. The daisies were pretty, but I didn't dare say so. He puffed on his cigar and assumed a zen-like expression. A cooler, stocked in anger, is an abomination. Is that Thomas Merton? I asked. He raised that eyebrow again and chuckled. You know, I'm the only other person in this whole bar who understands that, let alone finds it sort of funny. The grad degree comes in handy sometimes. Here, a shot. Just water till the pizza gets here, he said. Be right back. He slid off the stool and put one hand on the bar for balance as he towed into his flats and headed down the hall to the restroom. But I knew he wouldn't get that far. I leaned back a little so I could hear, and sure enough, he was knocking on the cooler door. He'd take money from Cal, but he'd give it right back. Cal didn't have much. He was an army friend of my dad from Nam on disability for PTSD. Only sober about 10 years, even though he was in his 70s, he lived in the tiny apartment upstairs. I never charged him rent. I couldn't look into his worried, watery blue eyes and watch him run his hand through what was left of his hair and ask him for money. Dad would never forgive me. I wouldn't forgive myself. Melvin was here when we bought the place, literally. He was sitting right there on that stool drinking a slow gin fizz when Dirty Mo showed us around. Well, not that stool. That was before the remodel. He was wearing an expensive-looking charcoal tweed skirt, white blouse, a satiny gray pillbox hat, and ruby earrings. He could have been Jackie Kennedy if not for the beard, the bald head, and the steel-toed Doc Marten. I like your hat, I remember saying. He'd looked at me and smiled. Don't patronize me, you ignorant shit. We'd gotten off to a shaky start. Johnny Paul raised his empty bottle. Heineken, please, he said. That's Heineken, you moron, the rent boy said, swiveling his head Johnny Paul's direction. It's German. I got a Heineken out of the bar cooler and walked it down to Johnny Paul, not even looking at the rent boy until the return trip. I stopped in front of him, took the Cosmo out of his pale hand, and poured what little was left down the bar sink. You're done, I said. He sat back and arched one thin eyebrow. What? I was going to let Julian throw you up, but you're such an asshole, I decided to do it myself. But it's raining, he said, turning and looking out the front window. My bus doesn't come for another 15 minutes. We got a covered smoking area out front, next to the bus stop. Fine, he said, grabbing his jacket from the bar stool to his left and putting it on as he stalked to the door. I hate the old man part of this bar anyways. He tried to slam it shut, but Julian had had one of those pneumatic door things put in, so it just hissed quietly closed on its own, absorbing his tantrum. A lot of drama here this afternoon, Melvin said, easing back onto his stool but keeping his shoes on. It might have been chilly and rainy, But if Melvin felt like showing up in a sundress and flats, he damn well did. We've seen worse. On the house, Johnny Paul, I said as I went back to Melvin's end of the bar. Where's the pizza? I spotted Angelo passing by the front window. Coming through the door, I said. He sidestepped the smoking rent boy and blew in on a breeze of pepperoni and onions. Angelo Balducci was a big guy with ruddy cheeks and a full head of thick, dark hair matching his brown eyes. He wore Cook whites, though they were hardly white. His apron was a mess, too, which meant his son, Stevie, had decided to go somewhere for spring break. 2 minutes out of the oven, he said as he put the still steaming box on the bar. I tried to pay him out of the till, but he waved me off. If I can't give my landlord a pizza once in a while, what's the use? Much appreciated, I said as I rustled up some napkins and packets of cheese and red pepper flakes. Can I get you something, Angelo? Short beer, maybe, on me? Melvin opened the box, grabbed some napkins, and dug in. No thanks, I gotta get back. It's only next door, but all I got's the part-time girl today when she puts the phone down. Look, just a heads up, but I need a partners meeting. I'm selling the restaurant. What? I said, how come? You've been here 25 years. You're one of the oldest people in the strip mall. 27. Time to retire. Gina wants to sell the house and live on a cruise ship. So hello, Brazil and Dramamine. Don't worry, I got a buyer, sharp girl. She's not far out of culinary school, but she won one of those cooking competition shows, the barbecue one, I think. I saw that, Melvin said. She's the one who lived in Springfield with her wife. Blue hair, tats, nose ring. She was good. What does she want with us? I don't believe you're asking that, I said. Do I have to remind you of our historical status as the first strip mall in the entire state? It says so on the plaque embedded in the sidewalk out front. Cal had reappeared, saluting. All hail the historical landmark designation, he said, before grabbing 2 slices of pizza and a napkin and heading for the office. He never let anyone see him eat. That's where I'm stopping.
Love it. Thank you, Jerry. That was great.
Rob, can I say one thing that Jerry, sorry, I just want to tell you.
Yeah.
Jerry,
Can the world hear you?
It's just one thing, the book, you could buy my book when you leave. Just want to tell you.
Yeah.
The poetry book.
Dan's book and other books are back here, and please do buy books, especially if they're right here. I can sign them for you, but we have a copy of Mercedes General here.
Yay, I have one at home.
I'm gonna actually buy one from Candace in a few weeks. I want the author signing it.
I'll be more than happy to.
Well, no, I love you, Greg and Donnie, but it's another independent bookstore I'm supporting, Tubby and Coos in New Orleans. I know, I'm like looking at, I'm sorry, I'm not checking email. Yeah, I'm sorry. Donald Nealon just said this is now an LGB reading series, sorry. No, I'm kidding. We would never. No, Bruce Whitaker sent, between us, it took us both 4 times, but he sent me his bio, which is kind of what I have here, but I trimmed it down, but I'm gonna go back, but it's just kind of I've never actually read anything off my phone like this before, so I guess, welcome to the 21st century, I guess. Bruce Whitaker's Good Housekeeping was published in 2024 by Poets Wear Prada and was a Book Life Reviews editor's pick. His debut collection, The Elk and the Glade, The World of Pioneer and Painter Jenny Hicks, was also a Book Life review editor's pick. And here's where I have to jump down. Okay. Oh, and placed second in contemporary poetry at the Book Fest Spring 2023. Richard Thomas has narrated, the Richard Thomas really, has narrated the audiobook version of this title. Bruce's Crown Sonnet about the culture of violence won the Nebraska Poetry Society's 2023 Open Poetry Contest, and his poems have appeared in many anthologies in over 35 journals. He's been nominated for Pushcart and Best of the Net. Please welcome Bruce Whitaker, who remembers the works from the 80s.
Thank you. So an iPhone virgin, very good. Well done. I want to start with a poem that it was going to be coming out in Amethyst, a new religious journal, and it's called The Cynic and the Friar. And it's in memory of Michael Judge. You may know who he was, a Franciscan priest. The friar was an old family friend who took it upon himself to check in on my boyfriend, the black sheep of a pious family. He had introduced us to a gay strip club, and we were eager to show off our new place, garden views, and a miraculous 5x5 kitchen. Of course, there were cocktails and wine before the pasta. Even a discalced Franciscan has to live. He had just returned from Medjugorje in Bosnia, where the Virgin appeared daily to 6 young people. We knew of it. Back in Yugoslav days, we had crossed from Bari to Dubrovnik on a boat bursting with pilgrims, annoying so many loud Americans. We left them at the dock for Sladoled along medieval lanes, the rocky beaches of our Yugoslavia, secular polyglot paradise, to think what was to follow. Now the friar was back with us, attention-getter, do-gooder, holding forth about his pilgrimage with a wheelchair-bound ex-cop, wounded in the line of duty, searching for a miracle they had failed to find at Lourdes or Knock. I can't wrap my head around it, the friar said, serious and misty-eyed, as he got sometimes between jokes and laughs at himself. I was in the church praying with all these people, and out of nowhere I suddenly smelled flowers, roses. He paused. Well, yes, and I leaned in for more. Well, you know, the scent of flowers is a sign of the Blessed Mother that she's... His voice trailed off. Hell, I don't know, he laughed. I had this. I pressed the table for emphasis. It's obvious. You've been conditioned. You expected to smell flowers, so of course you did. It's all on your mind, not to worry. Ah, yes, I see, he said mildly. He thanked me for denying his miracle. We cut the cake and moved on, the decades since, to think what was to follow. I often smell roses in his words. It's hard, isn't it, Dan? Keep that up. So this is Good Housekeeping, and my big thanks to our lovely Roxy who's here, Roxanne Hoffman, my publisher, mentor, and all the things that you've made possible for me. Thank you so much. So among the saints on this world are independent publishers, I think. So one of the, this is for Roxy, this is her favorite poem in the book. It's called The Fold-Out Couch. And this is kind of in the context of some of the material we're enjoying tonight. The fold-out couch. His force thumps the entire divan against the renter white wall, adding to the small dents. These are the good years. Galaxies revolve like the club door, powered by magnetism and mystery. Tossing cushions is foreplay, though sometimes here the fizz goes flat. A bicep in the red lava light, an ass in the veil of blue smoke, its globes green glitter-strewn and sweating. Heaving planets and stars call to the white light between the eyes, the fire in the throat as you take all he's got, the collapse, the caress, the clip of the spring through the mattress, another notch in the floor, counting down the security deposit. So, that occurred not very far from here during my crazy village days, so most of these stories are actually true. Good housekeeping explores the way domestic life and global life can interact or contradict or intervene. This is loading the dishwasher. The phrase itself evokes a certain privilege. I've lived with and without, and with is almost better enough. The casserole, the sushi board, the tagine, the wok, never grandma's china, it all goes in, more merry. Slosh, slosh, and a gentle ping, lift and fling, flight to the shelves that hold all you can handle sometimes. Some days it is the only door that opens to you or that closes on your mess. I'll handle this. Click. Words of a saint. Heavy duty, light china, normal wash, pro scrub, to heat or dry or not is the only decision I am up to today. Opinion is divided over how green is my vice. One more dilemma to rack and stack. Even so, there are times dishes tower in the sink, a wine glass shatters, shards nestle in the silverware, a spoon lurks near the drain unreachable. Those days are the days you want to load your job, your mate, your boss, your bills, your kids, those walkers, that customer, the news, Washington, Beijing, Brussels, Palm Beach, your mother, your body, your anger, your hunger, your fears for the future, locked and loaded, cancel, drain. This is part of what I really look forward to at the end of the day. It's called Chorus of Elixirs. Gin whistles, whiskey moans, wine sighs, tequila squeaks, vodka rings, champagne chirps, brandy lullabies, spirits who so generously vocalize rim to lip to ear, yet I never hear from beer. My most controversial verse. And I want to leave you with this. We're all in major self-care mode at the moment, and I wish you all of this. At the end of the day, the wounded beast retracts his claws and hangs his tongue to lap the waters of the den, to lie in softness then. Where do I bring my broken bones, cut lip my need, beaten on the street, Wall Street, Main Street, Back Street, then a cold drink and a classic flick, the cracked spine of the latest sabered in the right chair. It was all for this. For this, the commute, the clothes, the long hours, the wins and losses to the prides of the savannas. Life begins and ends in this cave, this tree, this realm where loved ones circle and unwind. This is the pod from which the seed emerges. This soil, this shade, this sunny spot is the best shot I've got to thrive and not be breakfast for blue jays. Here is the ringing phone, the screen, news from outside, intruding fist I cannot dodge. So I choose what I can, wallpaper, pillows, taps, mates, and say, I rule this howling world. At the door, I try to keep shut. Thank you, everyone. We've got the book in the back, and it's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Bruce Whitaker. So good. Intermission. In 4 weeks, we'll be back Thursday, March 13th. Well, not 4 weeks, you know what I mean, though. Barry Brennesel, Lucian Childs, Elizabeth Costello, Stephen Greco, Christian Goulet, Sean Stewart Ruff, and Sarah Sarai. And by the way, speaking of Sean Stewart Ruff, he's got a novel coming out in like tomorrow or something, but he'll be here on February 28th, which is, I don't know, what is today even? Oh, the 28th is like next, what? Thursday or something?
Friday.
I know, Friday. He'll be, oh good, I think I can be here. He'll be in conversation with the legendary Jacqueline Woodson, who, by the way, the Publishing Triangle has named, last year, started naming their award for LGBTQ plus children's and YA literature for her, and we're hoping she'll be at our award ceremony in April. Oh, that reminds me. Our award ceremony will be on Thursday, April 17th at 7 p.m. It is free. 7 p.m., right, Carol?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
You can mind.
I know. We might move it up. I don't know. It is free, so please be there. It'll be at the new school on West 12th Street, West 12th Street in Manhattan. The award ceremony is free. The reception that follows the award ceremony is free. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring your favorite writers. It's going to be a great event. And you know, the attendance is growing because it's free. And again, this is not a diss on anyone else, but you know, we don't charge people to come to our award ceremony. We look at this as a way to spread the love for queer literature. So please be there. We would love to have you there.
And cash prizes.
And we give, that's right, thank you, Gerard Cabrera. Our winners don't just get things. And by the way, I won a Lambda Award. I want to mention it, and I'm proud of that. And it's still, okay, it was like 400 years ago, but it's still on my bookshelf. It's still on my bookshelf, and it's one of the things I told my partner, we're in the process of moving. I'm like, no, that is one thing that I get to keep out. But yes, we give cash prizes. When people win our awards, they win cash prizes of between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on the award. And you can watch the winners as they learn they're about to win those prizes that, you know, the money won't come for months because we have to deal with because we have to deal with our donor advised fund, but the money does come. So anyway, yes, so that, but you know, it's exciting, and you know, look, we're writers, right? If you make $1,000 in a year, it's like a big. It's like, wow, I'm Armistead Maupin. Okay. Now I totally forgot where I was going. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned the March readings, and also we'll be here in the 2 days before the award ceremony for our pared down finalist readings. This year we're going to starting soon. We're going to pare these readings down a little bit because we all want to go home a little earlier, and you know, we'll still find time for all of your lovely words. Next up, I have no idea where, oh, here we go. Originally from Detroit, Frederick Smith is the author of 6 romance novels set in LA and San Francisco that center Black and queer characters. His latest novel, One and Done, is described as a Black queer higher ed Bay Area romance. It came out in June 2024 from Bold Strokes. Frederick's a higher educational professional by day, and he does student affairs and diversity and inclusion work at San Francisco State University. The Lord's work, thank you, Frederick. What's gone on with DEI these days, of course, is ridiculous. I'm just preaching to the choir, but yeah, thank you for doing that and hanging in there. And Fred's passionate about social justice, all things Beyonce, Black life, queer life, romance novels, books in general, and people pursuing and completing their educational goals. Please welcome Frederick Smith.
Hello, and greetings from San Francisco, where the sunshine is still out and it is 57 degrees. Hey, 57 is cold for us. Anyway, thank you all for inviting me this day to be part of the reading. Full circle moment. Jerry Wheeler, who read earlier, was actually the editor, the copy editor on One and Done. And so full circle, we are connected via our Life on Bold Strokes books. And so it's so nice to see Jerry here and to see all of you here today online or in person.
It's nice to
So,
see you too, Fred.
oh, thank you so much. And so, as mentioned, One and Done is a romance novel set in higher ed setting, set in the Bay Area. It follows two main characters, as all romance novels do. Dr. Taylor James, who is an aspiring university president, whose university is up for accreditation. And as most romance novels begin with a meet cute, Dustin and Taylor have a meet disaster in a bar on a Sunday fun day in the Castro neighborhood. Turns out, as we know romance novels do, after their meet disaster, a few days later, they learn they have to work together on a work project, the accreditation process, which is going to be hopefully Taylor's carpet ride to a future presidency. What I'm going to read this afternoon and this evening is just a little bit from chapter 1, the first couple of pages of the meat disaster. Those of you who are romance novel enthusiasts, some of the tropes include strangers to enemies to lovers, only one bed, forced proximity, and workplace romance. There's a lot of fun in it. And there's also lots of drag and lots of Beyonce. So chapter 1, I'm going to read from the character of Taylor, who is the aspiring university president. Dustin McMillan poured into my life as effortlessly as the top shelf tequila going into my first margarita of the afternoon. I was sitting alone in my usual seat adjacent to the bar at Beau, where I could chat with my best friend Markel, who was mixing up drinks for the Sunday drag brunch crowd. The DJ had just lowered the music for a bit for hostess and performer, Miss Coco Hydrate, to get the drag brunch crowd going. She'd asked us to get our singles out for the queens performing their interpretations of Beyonce's Renaissance album. Still a favorite of all the Black and brown gays, even after all the time that album had been out, even after most of the gays had been to one of the Renaissance World Tour concerts, and even as we anticipated Beyonce's next project. And as I always did on Sunday afternoons, I reached into my chocolate Telfar bag and took out 220s out to change into singles for the drag performers. Only $40? This guy asked as he sidled up near to me and sat in an empty bar stool 2 seats over. Renaissance has 16 tracks, and you're barely tipping $2 per performance in expensive-ass San Francisco? I swung my face toward the somewhat raspy baritone voice commenting on my tipping. For a second, I thought I was looking at myself in the mirror. He was Black, way too attractive, wearing a blue fitted suit that looked Armani and salmon-colored button-down dress shirt with a light blue tie. Reminded me a bit of that Nate Burleson newscaster on CBS Mornings. Confident looking too, like he thought he was the shit. Definitely overdressed for day drinking in the Castro. But then again, Markel often said the same about me and my Sunday fun day attire. Not that I was sizing up this stranger for anything beyond curiosity. We shared the same mid to dark brown complexion and smooth skin that looked taken care of by an esthetician. And whereas I kept my hair in more of a clean-cut, tapered low fro with a small mustache and chin goatee, 2 seats over guy was a little more rugged looking, wearing a high-top natural with a fade, full beard, and mustache. His edge-up was sharp and crisp. But beyond superficial looks, that's where our similarities seemed to end. He'd shown some nerve. I'd never think to intrude or impose my opinion on a stranger in a bar. Work life, yes. Sunday fun day, no. I turned to him, looked him up and down, and asked, "Who asked you?" Thank you very much. That's what it was.
Frederick Smith, please come back. That was great. I have to go back to my phone because everyone wants now thinks I can do this. I'm gonna have to maybe an iPad I could do. I'm an old man. Read this. I'll read what's here and then I'll read a few blurbs. Dale Corvino's essays have appeared in Salon, RFD Magazine, and the Gay and Lesbian Review. His debut collection of short stories, Bonds and Boundaries, was published last year by Rebel Satori Press. His memoir, Kept Boy, his memoir, Kept Boy in the Afterlife, was selected by CNR Press as a 2023 nonfiction prize winner and will be released this spring. Now, Dale has sent me some blurbs to read.
Just to torture you, Rob.
Just a few. It's okay. If I get them wrong. Did I mention I've never been blurbed?
You can have some.
And apparently,
you can
I have blurbed, but I've never blurbed. I guess I'm kind of a. Does that make me a blurb bottom? But apparently Dale didn't ask me. So anyway, no, but that's good. The legendary Felice Picanos called his book Afterlife of a Cat Boy a sensational read, immediate, engrossing, frank, and at times way out there. Felice read here, by the way, like last year, right? Yeah. Edgar Gomez said, nothing short of a masterpiece. I swear this book activated something ancient and homosexual in me. Audacia Ray said, a diary of raunch and excess, a travelogue of one man's experiences of being kept and unkept. I'm just getting kind of excited. Michael Musto, sex work, passion, disillusionment, wisdom, and coke all overflow in this delicious diary of an unstoppable dreamer. Condoms not included. I'm gonna Tim Murphy, power and submission, privilege and precarity, abasement and redemption reside in these pages, packed to the gills with sex, drugs, dance music, and raunchy gay misadventure. I don't even think you have to read at this point anymore. Please welcome my friend Dale Corvino.
I'm sorry to torture you like that, Rob, but I totally appreciate it. I couldn't read the blurb myself, that would be weird. But I do thank all those lovely people, those gorgeous writers who said those things about me. And I'm just really happy to be here tonight because this turns out to be such a sex work affirming evening. Because we had the shirtless junkie hustler, we had the smoking rent boy, we had strippers, and now we have me. My Rebel Satori title is on the counter, Bonds and Boundaries. It's a short story collection. The central part of it, the central section of it is all sex work misadventures. This is my print proof. The book is coming out March 15th. I just have this one copy on me. I thought I might have some advanced copies in time for this, but alas, no. But it's Afterlife of a Kept Boy. It's from CNR Press, a small imprint. They're taking a chance on me with a queer narrative, a sex work affirming narrative, and it's going to be available here at the Bureau by March 15th. So please support them in their support of this narrative and also the Bureau. And I'm just going to read, funny enough, the section I'm reading is probably the cleanest you're going to hear tonight. This is from the first. So the thing about this book is it's in two sections. The first section is an account. It's a fairly linear account of my entanglements with a British society decorator in 80s New York City, and it's told in what I would call solar time. It's like regular, relentless, like the sun, like the fixated gaze of the decorator. And the second half chronicles how I dismantled that kept boy label. And that occurred in phases, so to me it holds to lunar time. I'm going to read from an excerpt from chapter 1, where you'll meet Andres, who is my college roommate, who was the person who roped me into this entanglement. At some point in the book, I refer to him as the person who turned me out and then pimped me out. Gays. Andres arrived to meet me and see the apartment wearing a striped jacket and a flowy scarf with cash in hand. From Chile, he'd grown up in the Detroit suburbs. His bright eyes darted, consuming the entire space. His tawny skin was as smooth and even as one of his earth tone paints from the tube. He was stylish, outgoing, and obviously gay, whereas I was a sexually confused loner. I wanted this handsome dandy in my life to counteract my moody self-absorption and a provincial caste I couldn't seem to shop. It hadn't been clear to me then, but I was inviting change into the narrow life I'd carved out for myself in that narrow apartment, more than trying to save money. Andres had a boyfriend, Joseph, a closeted grad student at Columbia from a wealthy Baltimore family. I imagined it would be hard to stay closeted around Andres. After a fight, Joseph had demanded that Andres moved out and dropped him off at my place. Joseph, who was running a fever, broke it off with finality right there on the doorstep while I tried not to watch. His tall, lanky frame was nearly buckled by his aggrieved posturing, his reddish hair set aflame. Andres, subdued, blinked. As his now ex stomped off, he closed the door behind him and rolled his eyes. "Are you okay?" "Oh yeah. Wait, I feel a fever coming on too. Check." He put my hand on his forehead. "You do feel warm." Is this guy a hypochondriac or just dramatic? A little of both, I wondered as he held my hand in place. The more I got to know about Andres, artist, polyglot, dandy, the more starstruck I became, and the more I felt like a bystander to his extraordinary life from the perch of my own apartment. Upon his return from Spain, he detonated his giant suitcase, filled to bursting with books, clothes, medications, toiletries, liquor, and underneath, flattened auto parts he'd found on roadbeds. He'd ink these and pull prints from them, acing his printmaking class. As he sorted through all these treasures, I wondered where he'd gotten the money to travel like this. He told me he was living on a student loan. I couldn't find a moment to ask him about it. He spent very few nights at home even when he was in town. Some days he'd just run in, change into some new outfit, and run right back out. I was still in starstruck mode and hadn't really gotten to know him the day he stopped traffic. He was mildly annoyed at me for having taken so long to find him as I approached the open window. "Yes, finally. I thought you two should meet. Mr. Greet, this is Dale." Seated next to Andres was an exasperated older man, large and pink, with wisps of blonde hair. He was dressed in a suit and tie, and I noticed the garters holding up his socks. He had that uptown poise and the rosy front of a seasoned drinker. As we shook hands through the open window, this gentleman in his finery and his chauffeured sedan straightened slightly and pitched towards me, tugging on my arm a bit. His sour expression lifted and his blue eyes sparkled in the dappled light. "We're having dinner at El Internacional, you know, in Tribeca," said Andres. I didn't know. Mr. Greet murmured something about their reservation and ordered the driver on, finally putting an end to the commotion. The hacks stomped on their gas pedals, and a lurching yellow blur accompanied the Jaguar downtown. I caught up with Andres days later. "Child, that dinner was a complete disaster." Greet had turned up his nose at the Latin fusion menu. From an air duct overhead, condensation bounced off the retro vinyl banquette seating, splattering his custom soup. The final blow came when Andres left to use a payphone. 80s. Abandoned at a leaky table in a noisy, trendy venue, Greet summoned the chauffeur and retreated uptown. I had to borrow money for the bill, lamented Andres. Oh no, but how do you... My question was interrupted. The single bright spot in his terrible evening was meeting you, gushed Andres. He finds you delightful and wants to have drinks. But all I said was nice to meet you. He's got a thing for Italians. A thing for Italians. I've heard that before. My high school girlfriend, a Jewish girl named Joy, had told me that once as she fawned over my black curls. Andres explained that Greet was a renowned society decorator who lived in this East Side townhouse filled with beautiful antiques and counted among his clients old money matrons, nouveau riche, and even celebrities. Andres was his paid companion. They'd meet for drinks and then go to a restaurant for dinner. Sometimes they'd hit a few bars afterwards too. He'd keep him company and get some money. If I came along, I could expect the same. I'm gonna stop there.
Oh, these bad boys tonight. So let's hear from a bad girl. Just the way things broke, I only have one female identified reader tonight, but I saved her for last because I know she's gonna hit a home run. Actually, sports writing is one of the things she does best, but also erotica. So I don't know. She's either gonna tell us about the Eagles or she's gonna tell us about great sapphic sex. So, you know, or maybe both. Kathleen Warnock is a playwright and editor and a member of the Dramatists Guild and the board of directors of the Other Side of Silence, known as Tassos, which is the city's oldest LGBTQ plus theater group, 50 years now. And I'm on the board with Kathleen, and we're the only ones that do the work. I'm kidding. 3 other people do too.
This is live.
Kathleen's work, that's okay. They don't know which 3 I'm talking about. Kathleen's work has been seen in New York City, regionally and internationally, and she's also the ambassador of Love for North America for the International Dublin Gay Theatre Festival. And she's been hosting the reading series Drunken Careening Writers since 2004. Please welcome Kathleen Warnock.
Oh, good evening. I'm not going to do sex work, but I am bringing some vintage Lower East Side 90s realness with this t-shirt. I'm sure I saw a lot of you at Meow Mix. Okay, so, as I was saying recently, I have had some trouble writing these last several years. But one of the things that I have been able to do is some journalism. And I'm very happy that the good folks at Gay City News will let me write some stuff for them. And this is a piece I wrote for them, which was about renaming a piece of geography, only in a good way. And I hope some of you may have noticed yesterday was Audre Lorde's birthday. She would have been 91. So this is a piece I wrote for Gay City News and New York State Press Association Award. It's called A Celebration of Audre Lorde Way. The American artist Audre Lorde was a Black, lesbian, mother, warrior, poet, a sister outsider, and a native New Yorker. She was also a product of the New York City Public School and City University of New York CUNY system and considered Hunter College a home. Hunter College returned the favor to one of its most distinguished alumni by renaming the corner of 68th Street and Lexington Avenue Audre Lorde Way. Lord graduated from Hunter College High School, Hunter College, and became a distinguished professor at her alma mater, where she taught the students of New York City, many of whom now teach their own students and continue to share her words, voice, and spirit. A crowd of students, friends, scholars, literary lions and lionesses gathered in the lobby of Hunter College to attend a celebration and ceremony featuring some of the college and community leaders who had worked to literally change the map of the city to add to Lord's name. Hunter College President Jennifer Rabb welcomed the assembled, and New York City Council member Keith Powers, Hunter College 10, talked about how much Hunter means to the city. New York One anchor, journalist, and author Cheryl Wills was the MC of the program, and the crowd fell silent as they listened to a recording of Lord performing her poem, For Each of You. Lord's voice rang out, finishing with the lines, "Speak proudly to your children wherever you may find them. Tell them you are the offspring of slaves and your mother was a princess in darkness." Acclaimed author Jacqueline Woodson took the podium on the publication day of her 37th book. "At least 20 of my books would not be here without Audre Lorde," Woodson said. She related how her older sister came home from Hunter College High School to tell her about the poet who had gone to that school. Woodson researched Lorde and learned about the lesbian activist poet's mother and thought, "You can do that?" Audre Lorde made a way out of no way, showing the way for those who came after. Dr. Elizabeth Lorde Robbins, MD, one of Lorde's 2 children who was on call and unable to attend the ceremony, sent greetings to the crowd via 2 Lorde family friends, biographer Blanche Wiesen Cook, Hunter College 62, and historian and playwright Claire Koss. Cook and Koss both wore necklaces made for them by Lorde and noted that their collection of Lorde's handmade jewelry will go to Spelman College, which houses the Audre Lorde papers. "Although it's been decades, I remember how thrilled Audre was to teach at Hunter," Cook said. "The beginnings of her scholarship were at Hunter High. I think how extremely proud and grateful she would be to come to the corner of 68th and Lexington and see it named for her. She loved Hunter, she loved to teach," Koss said. Hunter professor Melinda Goodman, who said she'd come to Hunter on Lorde's recommendation, got the crowd to respond to the call and response of "I am, are you?" in Lorde's poem Now, and the crowd chanted, "I am, are you, ready?" City Council member Keith Powers, Hunter College President Jennifer Rabb, Chair of Hunter's Department of Africana and Puerto Rican Latino Studies Anthony Brown, and Hunter Professor of Anthropology Jacqueline Nassy Brown. Oh, that was the caption, I forgot to cut that out.
Nice.
Goodman thanked Lorde for her service, addressing her as Gamba Adisa, her African name which means she who makes her meaning clear. Professor Jacqueline Nassy Brown studied with Audre Lorde at Hunter College, where she is now a professor of anthropology, and led the drive at the school to have the corner named for Lorde. "This sign and its placement is so poetic," Brown said. "Audre will now preside over all that we do in this place, and it's over the subway, which is how we all get here." Brown spoke of how she stayed in touch with her Hunter teacher after she went on to graduate school at Stanford, and how when Lorde came to do a reading there, read through an earthquake that shook the hall. As an encore, a student asked her to read one of her older poems, and Lorde chose Coat and said, "Jackie, this is for you." The program concluded with a reading by 4 2022 Roosevelt House Eva Caston Grove scholars, students who are committed to public service, public policy, and human rights. They chose to read from Lorde's essay, "There is no hierarchy of oppressions." From my membership in all of these groups, I have learned that oppression and the intolerance of difference come in all shapes and sexes and colors and sexualities, and that among those of us who share the goals of liberation and a workable future for our children, there can be no hierarchies of oppression. I have learned that sexism and heterosexism both arise from the same source as racism. Within the lesbian community, I am Black, and within the Black community, I am a lesbian. Any attack against Black people is a lesbian and gay issue because I and thousands of other Black women are part of the lesbian community. Any attack against lesbians and gays is a Black issue because thousands of lesbians and gay men are Black. There is no hierarchy of oppression. I cannot afford the luxury of fighting one form of oppression only. I cannot afford to believe that freedom from intolerance is the right of only one particular group. And I cannot afford to choose between the fronts upon which I must battle these forces of discrimination wherever they appear to destroy me. And when they appear to destroy me, it will not be long before they appear to destroy you. Some people went up to the bridge between the Hunter buildings to watch the unveiling of the sign, and some went out to stand beneath it. They gathered in groups to talk about what they'd seen and what they remembered and who it was all for. Audrey taught me how to live. She gave me my life, said poet Donna Massini, a Hunter College graduate and professor in the Hunter MFA program in creative writing. All around were the people Audre Lorde knew and taught, and the people her students taught, and the people who will come and go by subway at 68th Street in Lexington, the Hunter College stop at Audre Lorde Way. Thank you.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you? Kathleen, we need to talk. We need to get your essays together in a collection somewhere. Because, I mean, I don't even know is it published anywhere? Your remembrance of the Eagles and your father from a few years ago?
I've sent it out a couple places, but.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that was just powerful stuff. So, and it was so weird because I didn't know what you were reading, and I walked right past there today and I saw the Audre Lorde sign on my way to get my hair cut, which is why I have kind of that weird little bump right now, because I love my stylist, but he's, he always wants to do things, and I'm like, then I look in the mirror and I'm like, what? No. I should also mention, of course, Audre Lorde Award is given by the Publishing Triangle for lesbian poetry each year. Kathleen mentioned again that the legendary Jacqueline Woodson was there, and this all ties together. The reason we're here is because of the people that were there, are still there, like Jacqueline Woodson, that are bringing us all together in putting out powerful queer literature. So, and again, and I should also add too, last time was actually not walking past Hunter, but inside Hunter, was a memorial last year for the legendary playwright Tina Howe, which was so close to Kathleen and her wife Donna, and obviously not one of us, but one of us in spirit, certainly. She was anyway. Okay, because then we can go on forever. So we're done. Again, thank you we have books. There are books in the back. I should add also one other thing, because I did make the joke about Tassos and Kathleen and I being the only one. Other people do work. And again, that's a board that is not paid, and we have basically, if anyone's paid, they get $100 a year or something. So much like the Publishing Triangle, these are all nonprofits that are working hard on the blood, sweat, and tears of volunteers. So help us out, not even financially, help us out morally where you can. Come to our award ceremony on April 17th. You'll hear more about that. In the meantime, thank you, Daniel Meltz, Tom Cardamone, Jerry Wheeler, Bruce Whitaker, Del Corvino, Fred Smith, and Kathleen Warnock.